In New Delhi, the Ministry of External Affairs expressed concern over the unremitting hostilities against minority Hindus in Bangladesh, but the targeted killings continue. 2 lynchings and 1 Hindu auxiliary force guard shot dead at point-blank range by a colleague. But is that narrative that the Muhammad Yunus administration was falsely blaming India for the Hadi killing coming apart, with the Hadi murder accused surfacing in Dubai and then releasing a video from there? Are India-Bangladesh ties set to deteriorate in the run-up to February elections? Joining me on India First, Salauddin Shoaib Choudhury. He's a counter-terrorism specialist and the editor of the Blitz. Joins us from Dhaka. Ambassador Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti is former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh. Subir Bhaumik is a respected senior journalist and author. Gentlemen, welcome. Salauddin Choudhury, has the statement of Faisal Karim Masood, an accused in the Hadi murder from Dubai, blaming the Jamaat-e-Islami, does that expose that fake narrative of the Muhammad Yunus administration blaming India? How is that being viewed in Bangladesh, sir?
Thank you very much, Gaurav Sawant ji. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
You see, the narrative that Muhammad Yunus, his Islamist cabal, and Pakistan ISI, they have been trying to spread to the country and the world that Hadi's killer, this Faisal Karim Masood, has fled to India and now is in Ramuhir in Meghalaya. Even with this bogus propaganda, Yunus regime even summoned the Indian High Commissioner in Dhaka, Mr. Pranay Varma, and even demanded that the killer should be handed over to Bangladesh. Now what happens? This Faisal Karim Masood has issued 2 video statements within the gap of just 10 hours from Dubai, and he has not only accused Jamaat-e-Islami, he has also in the second video has accused Yunus. And he has explained his relations with Hadi, that he went to Hadi for using him as a lobbyist in getting some government job, for which Hadi took 500,000 taka as advance, meaning Hadi was making money through this kind of the lobbyist activities. That's not a problem. Now, even the very theory of accusing this Masood as the killer, Yunus regime said the killer was wearing mask.
Yes.
And they were in a motorbike. But you and I both know that even FBI, even CIA, they cannot identify a criminal when they wear the mask. And they say they identify the killer to the motorbike by seeing the number plate. And after 3 days, they said that number plate was fake. So where from this theory is coming up that the motorbike, even using a fake number, the killers wearing masks, and they are accusing India. And as you know, Sawanti, that one second, even Pakistan ISI began propaganda on the social media, stating that the Indian law is behind Hadi's murder. So now at least this falsehood has been partially debunked by Masood, and I wish and I hope.
This is lies at the level of the state, Ambassador Chakravarti. The fact that the police made some toll claims, the administration made claims that they were seen crossing the border. Now it emerges that the accused took a flight from Bangladesh. And this is the second statement after the comment of Hadi's brother that blames the Jamaat and the administration. What explains this continued deflection tactics of the Muhammad Yunus administration in your view, Ambassador?
It's very clear. These are very well laid out plans to build narrative against India. Don't forget that the Yunus government was put in place by the agitation, which was basically spearheaded by the Jamaat-e-Islami. And the Jamaat-e-Islami was being supported by Pakistan's ISI. And so I think once they came to power, the Pakistan's ISI's plan unfolded, which means that build up enough, kind of narrative, social media, wherever, that, and make Bangladesh more and more anti-India. One doesn't have to explain Pakistan's objectives, which are always, it's India-centered, how to hurt India, how to incite violence against India, how to send terrorists into India, they wanted to use Bangladesh earlier too, and they have used it. And now they thought it's a good opportunity to turn the tide again and make Bangladesh receptive to anti-Indian moves and anti-Indian conspiracies. So I think this was a well laid out plan to do all this. But all sometimes even well laid out plans, unravel because there was no evidence. You can say what you like, unless there is evidence, nobody's going to believe you.
No, but imagine here is the head of an administration who's a Nobel laureate, and his administration is lying through the teeth and blaming India without a shred of evidence. Subir Bhaumik, is there evidence to indicate that Hadi killers fled to India? Or again, is that desperate deflection tactics of the Yunus regime wanting to fan anti-India fire in the run-up to the February 2026 elections, sir?
Well, Hadi was actually killed, as his brother has rightly said, by people within who were close to Mr. Yunus. Actually, he pointed a finger very clearly to NCP. If you notice, Hadi has been critical of Awami League, critical of India, but he has been also very critical of the National Citizens Party. He said on several occasions, as Shoaib will surely recall, that much as the Awami League has, sort of made 71 its own stuff, has monopolized 1971, the July Revolution, as they call their last year's incident, were monopolized by the NCP. And, this did not go well with a lot of top NCP leaders. Now, Hadi's brother is not a fool to make such a straightforward accusation in present Bangladesh, where mobs can beat up anyone or kill anyone.
True.
He will not take the risk unless he was terribly sure of evidence to the effect that his killers were actually people who were close to the Yunus administration, within it, whatever. This is a deflection tactics, blaming India. I mean, in Bangladesh, as they say, when we talk between each other and somebody says, please get me to do, we call it todbir in Bangladesh, that you want something done and you want to get it done, you want Indian influence. So I often joke and say, किसका बेगम किस मियाँ के साथ रहेगा वो भी क्या इंडिया फैसला कर देगा, and I'm
true, that is how much they blame India. But Ambassador Chakravarti, Ambassador Chakravarti, how do you view the visit of Dr. Jaishankar to Dhaka to attend the last rites of Begum Khalida Zia? Is that a courtesy call? Is that diplomaties, or is that an outreach with an attempt to reset ties with the BNP leadership, sir?
It's a mixture of all what you said. I mean, I think India in its foreign policy, has to deal with its neighbors, because this is a compulsion of geography and history and everything else, and our own interest in promoting a neighborhood which is mutually sort of supportive, in which we can do business and create more prosperity and deal with our problems, which are many of them which are common. And that is always the intention of Indian policymakers. Now, hence, I think we are doing, maybe call it outreach, but also some diplomatic protocol. After all, she was, Khaleda Zia was a former Prime Minister. And funeral, and clearly there must have been indications from, or some notes would have been sent out to all countries saying that we are having this, we would like to have you represented. And then I think India government would have decided that Jaishankar should be presented, which means that we are making a high-level representation there to show that that we are willing to do business with the new government whenever it comes after the election. And since most people think that it is going to be the BNP with Tariq Rahman now its head and possibly the next prime minister. So I think that was the thought probably behind, sending Dr. Jaishankar to Dhaka. And
Okay.
I believe it was the right decision.
Salauddin Chaudhury, will that anti-India sentiment continue to be fanned by the Jamaat-e-Islami in Bangladesh now with that focus shifting entirely to Tariq Rahman's leadership ahead of elections?
Mr. Sawant, you see, for Mr. Tariq Rahman, particularly with the presence of His Excellency S. Jaishankar at the funeral of Khalida Zia, now it is time for him to realize that India is never an enemy of Bangladesh. It's an ally, it's a friend of the people of Bangladesh, number one. Number two, for Tariq Rahman, the biggest challenge to become the next prime minister on February 12th is Jamaat-e-Islami and Muhammad Yunus. Because you know that on 12th of February, Yunus is also simultaneously holding a referendum, which gives the legitimacy to his July charter. And once he gets it legitimacy, then on the 12th of February, whoever wins in the general election, Yunus will declare himself as a supreme leader and his government will turn into a revolutionary government. In that case, Tariq Rahman, even if he becomes a prime minister, he will become a prime minister like Iran or North Korea. So for the sake of freeing the democracy of Bangladesh, for getting Bangladesh liberated from the evil clutches of Pakistani ISI and Yunus and the Islamist jihadist cronies, Tariq Rahman now will have to look for an ally in political field. And that ally is no other party than Awami League. Because in the previous time, every time there was a demonstration for democracy or anti-military dictatorship protest, Khaleda Zia and Sheikh Hasina fought together. So
They did come together against the military regime, but now with the Awami League already pushed out, can Tariq Rahman come to par? Because when you look at all the surveys, they seem to indicate that Jamaat-e-Islami and BNP are almost neck and neck, or Tariq Rahman is just a little ahead. But Subir Bhaumik, this clearly would indicate that this is not the end of the road for Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus post the elections in Bangladesh, because many say, and as you heard Mr. Choudhury also indicate, he may want to, post the referendum, become the all-powerful head of Bangladesh.
Well, as I've said before in your program as well, and in many other, channels, that Yunus is desperate to become president because he wants immunity from prosecution. There have been several charges against him: money laundering, financial irregularities, labor law violations, and now, of course, a lot of conflict of interest cases, because after becoming chief advisor, he has got a lot of favors done to his Grameen group of companies. So he wants immunity from prosecution. He also, if he becomes president, is the supreme commander of the armed forces. Most importantly, please note that this election is not just an election, there is also a referendum along with it. And one of the agenda of that referendum, yes or no, is if this is accepted, the July Charter, then the president of Bangladesh, more powers to president. That's one of the major themes of this July Charter. So if the July Charter is accepted in the referendum, if the referendum is held alongside the election, and if the elections are not postponed, Yunus will desperately try to be president, because then he will emerge as the most powerful president in the history of Bangladesh. No president before would have had so much powers. So he is a power-hungry man.
So do we see a clash, Ambassador Chakravarti, between Tariq Rahman and Muhammad Yunus and Jamaat-e-Islami coming closer to Professor Muhammad Yunus in the weeks ahead, in the run-up to the February elections?
Well, according to the current lineup, if the BNP and its allies, smaller parties, will be fighting against Jamaat and the NCP, because the NCP, the Students' Party, has now allied with the Jamaat. Now, the NCP is a creation of Professor Yunus, and hence I think that Professor Yunus's guiding hand behind this alliance is very clear. And I agree with Subir, what he said about Professor Yunus wanting to remain in power. And when I met him in 2007, when he had floated a political party to fight in the 2008 elections, it became clear to me that he has been seeking a political role in Bangladesh. And that is what I had assessed at that time. And now it is proven to be right because he, I think, wants to stay on. And as Subir said, if the referendum goes through, then the president becomes, it gets much additional powers. They will restrict the prime ministership to 2 terms. There are a lot of things like that in the so-called referendum. Now, that would, of course, require a constitutional amendment because the current
Correct.
constitution, which is lying suspended, does not allow all these things to happen. So they will have to then go through the National Assembly to get the constitutional amendment. Now, whether that would be possible or they will say, no, the referendum is good enough and the constitution stands amended, I do not know what the legality of that will be. But I do believe that there will be legal issues, and I think people will challenge it. It will go to
Okay.
court, but then the courts have been packed with his nominees. So how the courts will
Exactly.
decide
That's point one.
also
And then
quite
this
clear.
rise of radical Islamists, the last 2 minutes I have on this part of the show, Salauddin Choudhury, the targeting of Hindus, it continues. Is it a part of a wider plot? There have been 3 instances from Deepu Das to Amrit Mandal. Both of them were lynched, and now Bijendra Biswas shot dead in Mehman Singh. Bangladesh government denies targeted killing of Hindus and other minorities, but what's your reading, sir?
Mr. Sawant, since the last year, the coup, Pakistan ISI in Pakistan has gotten access to Bangladesh. And they are planning to turn Bangladesh into an East Pakistan. So they want a Hindu-free East Pakistan. And from the Osman Hadi's murder, you have seen that immediately after the murder, there were attack on media houses, and then the murder of our Deepu Chandra Das and Amrit Talukdar and others. So it is the complete plot of the Pakistani ISI to not only spread the reign of anarchy through the whole country, but target Hindus and religious minorities and turn Bangladesh into even a worse place than Pakistan. That is what they want. And I would like to firmly say that Yunus is the top facilitator of Pakistan's agenda. He is the implementer of Pakistani's blueprint. And together they are doing that with your kind permission. Just one more point I would like to add here.
Please.
That Islamists, Jamaat-e-Islami and others all will try to keep Tariq Rahman aloof from Awami League because they don't want our Tariq Rahman get an ally for the future movement or even now any movement against Yunus because they're afraid of unity between BNP and Awami League, which will cause a disaster for Yunus or any autocratic entity in this country. So for my country now, the atrocities and genocide on Hindus and others, this is all blueprint of Pakistani ISI, as I said.
But sir, is it
concluding.
even possible, the last 30 seconds that I have, Mr. Choudhury, is it even possible for Awami League and BNP to come together with the kind of checks that have been put on the Awami League and their inability to contest?
Yes, even for Awami League, it's a question of existence. And for BNP also, it's a question of existence because both parties will be ultimately decimated by the Pakistani ISI and US deep state. And that is their -2 formula, which they tried to implement in 2007, failed. This time they are trying again. So Tariq Rahman should remember that with or without Khalida Zia, BNP is very much in the list of -2. And if they want to avert the -2, so BNP will have to join hands with Awami League. And I think
will that happen? That remains to be
happen.
seen. But we'll be tracking that story very closely.